I spent 8 years in the military, specializing in chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear defense. I've watched the same drills civilians see, and I've seen the real classified protocols. The advice you might have heard about the 6 things to avoid is good, but it is incomplete. It tells you what not to do, but it misses the how. In a nuclear event, good enough gets you killed. Precision saves you. The first 60 minutes, what we call the golden hour, is not just about running away. It is a tactical chess match against physics, biology, and human psychology. Today, I'm giving you the expanded, field-tested blueprint that fills in the gaps. We aren't just going to survive, we are going to dominate the chaos. Here is the upgraded protocol for the first hour of World War III. Let's correct the biggest myth first, which is the basement. You've heard it's a trap because of debris and a lack of exits. That is true. But what if the basement is your only option? The original advice tells you to avoid it entirely. But in a suburban ranch house with no interior core, the basement might be the only shield you have against gamma rays. If you must use the basement, you need to prep it now, not when the siren wails. First, never stand in the center of the room. The floor above is most likely to collapse in the middle. You need to position yourself in the corners where the foundation walls meet, because that is the strongest structural point of the house. Second, if you go down, you take a heavy breaching tool with you, like a sledgehammer, a crowbar, or a heavy axe. If the single wooden exit collapses, that tool is your key to breaking through a window well or debris. Without it, the basement is a tomb. With it, it becomes a bunker. Finally, remember that basements accumulate heavier than air gases, like carbon monoxide from fires above. If you survive the blast in the basement, do not stay there for days unless you have ventilation. However, the core rule still stands. In a modern multi-story building, the geometric center of the middle floor is superior. You are using the building itself as armor. Think of the building like an onion, and you want to be in the very center layer. Next, let's talk about the blast itself. The original advice says windows kill, which is correct. But let's get specific about the physics so you don't hesitate. A nuclear detonation creates 2 waves, the thermal pulse, which is the flash, and the blast wave, which is the shock. Light travels faster than sound. The flash travels at the speed of light and hits instantly. Do not look at it. It can vaporize retinas 30 miles away. The shock travels at the speed of sound, roughly 1 mile every 5 seconds. Here is the tactical drill. If you see the flash, drop immediately. Do not wait for the noise. Start counting. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000. If the blast wave hits you in less than 30 seconds, you are in the severe damage zone. Body positioning is critical here, and the old duck and cover isn't enough. You need to lay flat on your stomach. Clasp your hands behind your head to protect the neck and base of the skull. Now, this next part sounds counterintuitive, but you must keep your mouth slightly open. The pressure differential from the blast wave can rupture your eardrums and collapse lungs. An open mouth helps equalize pressure in the eustachian tubes. Finally, cross your ankles. This stabilizes your body against the ground, so the shock wave doesn't roll you over like a rag doll. Stay down for at least 2 minutes. The shock wave can reflect off hills and buildings, coming back for a secondary hit. Debris falls after the wind stops, so patience saves your life here. Now, regarding electronics, the original advice told you to turn off your phone to save battery. That is level 1. Let's talk about level 2, which is digital hygiene and network triangulation. In a modern warfare scenario, a nuclear event might be preceded or accompanied by cyber warfare. Cell towers won't just overload, they might be spoofed. Bad actors may flood networks with fake safe zone maps to herd civilians into kill zones or gridlock traffic. If you get a text message that contradicts your pre-planned logic, ignore it. Furthermore, checking your phone releases cortisol. In the first hour, you need adrenaline for action, not cortisol for panic. Staring at a no-signal bar or reading terrifying tweets freezes your decision-making process. We call this analysis paralysis. You also need to implement the Faraday protocol. If you have spare electronics like a backup radio or a spare phone with offline maps, wrap them in aluminum foil or put them in a metal trash can immediately. An electromagnetic pulse often accompanies high-altitude detonations. Your turned-off phone might survive, but only if it's shielded. So turn the phone off. Put it in a metal pot with a lid. Focus on the physical world immediately around you. You are your own first responder now. Now that you have survived the immediate blast, we enter the most deceptive phase. This is what we call the fallout window. Civilians often think the danger is over once the shaking stops, but the blast isn't actually when most people die in the long run. It is the 30-minute window right after. Fallout takes time to drift down from the upper atmosphere. Depending on weather conditions, wind speed, and your distance from ground zero, you have roughly 15 to 45 minutes between the flash and when radioactive particles start settling in lethal concentrations. That window is when everyone panics and makes fatal mistakes. They run outside to check on neighbors, they try to drive away to find family, and in doing so, they walk directly into the descending fallout cloud. We call this the kill zone window. Instead of running, the second the blast wave passes, you must seal your location. Do not look outside to assess the damage. Immediately grab towels, heavy tape, and clothing to stuff into cracks under doors, around window frames, and over air vents. You are trying to keep particulate matter out. Remember, fallout is essentially heavy, radioactive dust. It doesn't seep through solid walls like magic, but it drifts through the smallest gaps. If you are already in a sealed room when fallout arrives, your radiation exposure drops significantly. For those of you living in high-rise buildings or apartments, the rules are slightly different, and this is a detail often missed. You need to understand vertical distancing. Fallout settles on the roof and on the ground. Therefore, the top floor is dangerous because of the roof, and the ground floor is dangerous because of the street accumulation. The safest place in a high-rise is the geometric center of the building, usually the middle floors. Stay away from balconies and large glass facades. Move to the internal corridors or stairwells if they are enclosed. Once you have secured your perimeter, your next priority is water. Everyone knows humans need water to survive, but in a nuclear event, timing matters more than quantity during that first hour. The military survival protocol is specific. The moment you have shelter, you fill every single container you can find with water. Open all taps, fill bathtubs, sinks, pots, bottles, and buckets. You must do this before you seal the room and before you sit down to rest. The reason for this urgency is infrastructure failure. Nuclear blasts damage pumping stations, or authorities might intentionally shut down the supply to prevent contaminated water from entering the municipal grid. You have maybe 10 to 20 minutes of residual water pressure after the blast, before the pipes go dry. That water in your bathtub isn't just for drinking. It is a critical resource for decontamination. If you were exposed to dust while getting inside, you need that water to wash it off your skin. It is also for flushing waste and cooling burns. It is your lifeline for the next 2 weeks while the radiation outside decays to safer levels. However, you must be observant. As you are filling containers, watch the water quality closely. If the water starts coming out brown, cloudy, or smells like chemicals, stop filling immediately. The shockwave may have ruptured lines, allowing ground contaminants or sewage to mix with the clean supply. Do not risk drinking compromised water. Use what you have already collected. Regarding food, you need to shift your mindset. Food is secondary in the first hour. The biological reality is that you can survive 3 weeks without food. You will be miserable, but you will be alive. With water, you have 3 days maximum, and that assumes you are not moving around much or sweating from heat and stress. Therefore, your priority list is strict. Seal the room first, secure water second, and worry about food last. When you do grab food, grab whatever is close and requires no preparation. Canned goods, dry bars, anything that doesn't need refrigeration or cooking. Do not waste precious minutes organizing a pantry. Just get the calories into your shelter and seal the door. This period is also a psychological battle. The urge to run, to find your children who are at school, or to help a friend across town will be overwhelming. But you must override that instinct. In the first hour, the environment outside is becoming rapidly lethal. If you leave your shelter to find someone, you likely won't reach them, and you will become a casualty yourself. The harsh truth of nuclear survival is that you cannot help anyone if you are dead. Secure yourself first. Wait for the radiation levels to drop, which happens largely within the first 24 to 48 hours. Only then can you make your next move. There is, however, one specific scenario where you must break the shelter rule. Everything I just told you assumes your shelter is structurally sound, but battlefield conditions change rapidly, and staying inside a compromised building will kill you faster than the radiation outside. You need to know when to cut your losses. If you smell natural gas, if you see fire spreading uncontrolled, or if the structural integrity of the building is failing, meaning you hear groaning metal or see cracking walls, you leave immediately. Staying puts you at risk of being crushed or burned alive. But you do not just run out the door, you need to execute a hasty exit protocol. First, protect your respiratory system. If you have an N95 mask, use it. If not, cover your nose and mouth with a damp cloth. Use multiple layers of a wet t-shirt or a thick towel. This moisture helps trap radioactive particles before they enter your lungs. It won't stop gamma radiation, but it will keep you from inhaling fallout dust, which is an internal death sentence. Next, cover every inch of exposed skin. Wear long sleeves, pants, a hood, and gloves if you have them. Use duct tape or even rubber bands to seal the cuffs of your pants and sleeves against your boots and gloves. You are creating a sealed biological suit with whatever clothes you have. Fallout is primarily a surface contamination problem. You must keep it off your skin and out of your lungs. When you move fast, but do not run. Running kicks up dust from the ground and increases your breathing rate, causing you to inhale more contamination. Walk quickly and with purpose. Try to stay in the center of the street if it is clear, avoiding the sides of buildings where debris and fallout drift accumulate. Head directly to the nearest intact structure with an interior room, a neighbor's house, a commercial concrete building, anywhere with solid walls away from windows. Once you breach the new location, you must perform a field decontamination immediately. Do not walk deep into your new shelter. Stop at the entryway or just inside the door. This is your dirty zone. Remove your outer layer of clothing carefully. Peel it away from your body, turning it inside out so the contamination is trapped inside. Leave it there. Do not bring those clothes into your clean living space. By doing this, you remove approximately 90% of the radioactive particles. If you have water, rinse your hands and face. When drying, pat your skin dry. Never wipe. Wiping grinds radioactive particles into your pores. Then seal this new room and do not leave again until authorities give the all clear or the threat level forces you to move again. Ultimately, if you are deciding whether to stay or go, ask yourself one question: is the immediate physical threat inside greater than the radiation threat outside? If the answer is yes, you move. If the answer is no, you stay. Do not second-guess it. Those are the critical protocols that military training teaches, but civilians rarely hear. You have exactly 1 hour to get this right. 1 hour to find shelter, seal it, secure water, and stay put. The world outside will be absolute chaos. Your human instinct will be to help others, to run to a school, to drive across town. You must override that instinct. In the first hour, the most heroic thing you can do for everyone you care about is to stay alive. Survive the first hour, then survive the first 24 hours. Only then do we worry about what comes next.